Commander Zextel sat at his desk inside the giant space station called Harmony Prime. The station floated in space between many different worlds. His green, scaly hands moved across the glowing screen in front of him. Today, he had to check reports about new planets that his scouts had found. The blue and green planet on his screen looked small and quiet. The report said it was called Earth by the creatures living there. The alien writing on the screen showed all the important facts. Planet name, Earth. People living there. Humans. How dangerous they are. Very low risk. What to do next? Just watch. Then sometimes, Zextel read the report that his young scout Vexman had written 3 months ago. According to what Vexman saw, humans were not very smart. They could barely fly small rockets into space around their own planet. They had no powerful weapons that could work in space. They could not talk to people on other planets far away. Their armies used old guns and bombs that seemed like toys compared to alien weapons. Most important of all, the humans were always fighting each other. They lived in many different countries and groups. Some countries hated other countries. Some groups wanted to control other groups. Vexman wrote that humans would never work together against aliens because they were too busy fighting among themselves not far away on Earth. Lieutenant Colonel Jake Morrison walked into a big meeting room inside a building called the Pentagon. This building was where the American military leaders made important decisions. Jake sat down at a long table with other officers. They were all wearing green uniforms with shiny medals on their chests. Dr. Lisa Carter stood at the front of the room. She was a tall woman with short brown hair and glasses. Behind her was a large screen showing pictures of space. She worked for a secret program that watched for aliens visiting Earth. "Good morning, everyone," Dr. Carter said. She clicked a button, and the screen showed a picture of an alien spaceship. "Our satellites have been tracking their movements for 22 years now. The good news is that our plan is working perfectly." The military officers leaned forward to listen. General Bill Hayes, an older man with gray hair, nodded his head. He had helped create this plan many years ago when humans first discovered. They were being watched by aliens. Dr. Carter continued speaking. "The aliens still think we are primitive and weak. Every time we launch a rocket, we make sure it looks clumsy and slow. When we test our weapons, we only show them our oldest technology. We have convinced them that we fight with each other too much to be dangerous." Jake Morrison raised his hand. "What about our real space program? Are they still hidden?" "Yes." Dr. Carter smiled. "Our secret bases on the Moon and Mars are completely invisible to their scanners. The aliens have no idea we have been living and working in space for 15 years. They think our moon missions in the 1960s were the best we could do." The room was quiet as everyone thought about this. Humans had been lying to the aliens for over 20 years. While the aliens watched Earth and saw fighting and primitive rockets, humans were secretly building advanced spaceships and weapons in hidden places. General Hayes stood up. His voice was serious and strong. "Remember, our survival depends on them thinking we are weak. If they knew the truth about what we can really do, they might decide to attack us before we are ready." 300 miles away, in the desert of Nevada, Dr. Amy Rodriguez worked alone in a laboratory deep underground. The room was filled with strange machines that hummed and glowed with blue light. She wore a white coat and safety glasses. She carefully adjusted a device that looked like a metal box covered in wires. This machine was humanity's greatest secret. It could send messages faster than light, just like the aliens could. But the aliens did not know humans had learned how to build it. Dr. Rodriguez had spent 5 years studying pieces of alien technology that had crashed on Earth in different accidents. "Computer, run test number 47, she said out loud. Voice from the computer answered. Test starting now, Dr. Rodriguez. The metal box began to glow brighter. Numbers and symbols appeared on screens around the room. After 2 minutes, the computer spoke again. Test successful. Message sent to Mars base and received clearly. Dr. Rodriguez smiled and wrote notes in her book. Humans could now talk to their secret bases on other planets instantly. The aliens still thought humans could only send radio waves, which took many minutes to travel between planets. She thought about all the other secret projects happening around the world. In Russia, scientists were building new types of engines that could push spaceships faster than anything aliens had ever seen. In Japan, engineers were creating materials stronger than alien metal. In Europe, doctors were learning how to help humans live and work in space for many years. But the most important secret was happening in many countries. Millions of humans were training for the day when they would have to fight aliens. They practiced in hidden underground bases. They learned to use weapons that aliens had never seen before. They studied alien weaknesses that the aliens did not know they had. Back on the space station, Commander Zexthul finished reading the report about Earth. He marked it as approved and put it in the file for safe planets. Earth would continue to be watched, but only by a few scouts who checked on it once or twice each year. Zexthul had no idea that at this very moment, human spaceships were hiding in the shadows of asteroids throughout his solar system. He did not know that human scientists had already learned how to speak his language perfectly. He could never imagine that humans had been preparing for war against his people for over 20 years. The greatest trick humans had ever played was making their enemies think they were too weak and stupid to be dangerous. Soon, the aliens would learn how wrong they had been. Scout Vexman sat in his small ship floating above Earth. His 4 eyes watched the blue planet below as he wrote his monthly report. He had been studying humans for 6 months now, and he was sure he understood them completely. Report number 12, he spoke into his recording device. Humans continue to show their greatest weakness. They cannot work together. In the past month, I have observed 15 new conflicts between different human groups. Vexman looked at his notes. He had watched news broadcasts from around Earth. Countries were arguing about trade deals. Political parties were fighting about laws. Even small groups of humans argued about sports teams and which movies were better. Their inability to cooperate makes them harmless. Vexman continued his report. While advanced species work together, for the good of all, humans waste their energy fighting each other. They will never unite against an outside threat. What Vexman did not understand was that human conflict was not a weakness. It was their greatest strength. Every argument, every competition, every war taught humans something new. They learned to adapt quickly to new problems. They discovered better ways to solve difficult situations. They became stronger and smarter through struggle at Camp Pendleton. In California, Captain Steve Parker watched his Marines practice a new training exercise. The exercise had been designed by military experts who studied how aliens might fight. The Marines had never seen anything like it before, but they were already learning how to handle it. Remember, Captain Parker called out to his soldiers, the enemy moves differently than anything we have faced before. They think differently, too. You have to adapt your tactics in real time. Private Danny Wilson dove behind a fake rock as strange. Lights flashed over his head. The training robots moved in patterns that no human enemy would use. But Danny was already figuring out how to predict their movements. His team leader, Sergeant Mike Torres, was developing new hand signals to communicate during the exercise. Within 2 hours, the Marines were performing as if they had trained for this type of combat their whole lives. Captain Parker smiled as he watched them. This was what made humans special. They could learn and change faster than any species in the galaxy. In Atlanta, Georgia, Dr. Helen White worked late at night in her laboratory at the Centers for Disease Control. She was studying how viruses changed and evolved. Her work had helped. Humans survived many disease outbreaks over the years. Interesting, she said to herself as she looked at samples under her microscope. This virus has adapted to 3 different treatments in just 2 weeks. What Dr. White was learning about viruses was the same thing that made humans so dangerous. Humans adapted to new challenges constantly. They lived on a planet where the environment changed all the time. They had survived ice ages, volcanic eruptions, floods, droughts, and countless diseases. Each challenge had made them stronger and more flexible. Aliens came from more stable worlds. Their planets had steady weather and few natural disasters. They had evolved to live in peace and comfort. Most alien species had never faced the kinds of challenges that humans dealt with every day. In Hollywood, California, director Nick Turner was making a science fiction movie about humans fighting aliens in space. He worked with military advisors to make the space battles look realistic. The movie showed human soldiers using creative tactics to defeat enemies with better technology. "Cut!" Nick shouted after filming a scene. "That was perfect. The way you used the asteroid field to hide. Your attack was brilliant." The actor playing the human captain, Ben Martinez, walked over to Nick. The military advisor said real space combat would probably work like this. Humans would have to be smarter and more creative than aliens with better weapons. Nick nodded. What he did not know was that military leaders would later watch his movie to get ideas for real space combat tactics. Human entertainment was actually a form of training. Movies, video games, and books prepared human minds for situations they had never experienced. Vexman had watched some human movies during his research. He saw them as proof that humans were violent and primitive. He did not realize that these stories were teaching humans how to think about complex problems. Every action movie showed humans overcoming impossible odds. Every strategy game taught players how to manage resources and plan ahead. In a small town in Ohio, mechanic Tony Phillips was trying to fix a broken water pump for the local hospital. The pump was an old model, and replacement parts were no longer made. Tony looked at the broken machine and scratched his head. "Well," he said to his assistant, "we'll have to make our own parts." Tony went to his workshop and started building new parts from scrap metal and old car parts. He used a piece from a washing machine, a spring from a truck, and metal from an old refrigerator. After working for 6 hours, he had created a water pump that worked better than the original. This kind of creative problem-solving happened millions of times every day on Earth. Humans were experts at making something work with whatever materials they had available. They could build complex machines from junk. They could fix advanced technology with simple tools. Aliens built everything in factories, with perfect materials and precise specifications. If something broke, they replaced it with an exact copy. They could not imagine making a water pump from refrigerator parts and washing machine pieces. Vexman finished his report and prepared to send it to his commanders. He was confident that humans posed no threat to galactic civilization. They were too busy fighting each other to organize a defense. They were too primitive to develop advanced technology. They were too emotional to make good strategic decisions. Final assessment, Vexman recorded. Humans remain at the lowest threat level. Recommend continued minimal observation. This species will likely destroy itself within the next few hundred years through warfare and environmental damage. He sent the report to Commander Zexthil and settled back in his ship. Vexman planned to watch Earth for another 6 months before requesting assignment to a more interesting planet far below him. Humans continued their daily lives. They argued about politics and competed in sports. They solved problems with creative solutions and adapted to new challenges. They prepared for threats that most of them did not even know existed. Every day, humans were becoming more dangerous. But the aliens watching them had no idea. The Galactic Council met in their great hall on the planet Centaura. Representatives from 47 different alien species sat in a circle around a glowing table. Today they were discussing which planets might become dangerous in the future. Counselor Yiftar waved his long tentacles as he spoke. His species had been part of the Council for over 2,000 years. I have reviewed the reports from the Outer Rim territories. Most new species pose no threat to our peaceful galaxy. He touched a button, and a hologram of Earth appeared above. The table. The blue planet slowly rotated as data appeared around it. This world called Earth is particularly harmless, Yiftar continued. The creatures there have many biological weaknesses. They need to breathe a specific mixture of gases. They can only survive in a narrow range of temperatures. They die if they do not consume water every few days. Other council members nodded. Their agreement. Counselor Zexbith from the insect world of Kithara clicked her mandibles. Our scouts report that humans have very short lifespans. Most die before they reach 100 years. How can such brief lives accumulate enough wisdom to be dangerous? Furthermore, added Counselor Morthek, whose species had lived for thousands of years, humans seem incapable of collective thinking. Each individual makes decisions based on personal desires rather than the good of their species. This makes them weak and unpredictable. While the Council dismissed humanity as helpless, Colonel Maria Santos walked through the underground levels of Area 51 in Nevada. She wore a special suit that monitored her vital signs as she entered a chamber that no normal human could survive. Beginning test sequence 7, she spoke into her radio. Atmospheric pressure is now at 0. Temperature is minus 40 degrees. Radiation levels are 50 times normal. Dr. Gary Adams watched her from the control room. All readings are normal, Colonel. The biological modifications are working perfectly. Maria smiled inside her helmet. 6 months ago, doctors had given her special treatments that changed how her body worked. She could now survive in the vacuum of space without a spacesuit. Her blood could carry oxygen for hours without breathing. Her skin could handle radiation. That would kill normal humans in minutes. Test complete, she reported. I feel fine, ready for the next phase. The next phase would test if she could survive in the crushing gravity of gas giant planets. If successful, humans would be able to fight in environments that would kill most alien species instantly. At the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, Professor Carl Johnson worked on a computer that was completely different from anything aliens had ever built. Instead of using normal circuits, his machine used quantum particles that could exist in many states at the same time. Sarah, run the calculation again, he said to his assistant, Dr. Sarah Kim. Processing now, Sarah replied. The quantum computer solved a complex problem in 3 seconds that would take alien supercomputers several hours to complete. Carl looked at the results with amazement. This is incredible. We can process information in ways that their technology cannot match. While they built bigger and more powerful computers, we found a completely different approach. The quantum computer could break alien codes instantly. It could predict battle outcomes by calculating millions of possibilities simultaneously. Most importantly, it required very little energy to operate, making it perfect for use on spaceships 2,000 miles away. Navy SEAL Commander Rick Stone trained his team in a facility that simulated zero gravity. His men floated in a large chamber, learning how to fight when there was no up or down direction. Remember, Rick called out to his team, in space, your enemy can attack from any direction. You must think in 3 dimensions, not just 2. Petty. Officer Joe Clark pushed off from one wall and spun around to shoot at a target behind him. His teammate, Chief Dan Porter, used a metal beam to change direction in midair while firing his weapon. These SEALs were training for combat in environments that most aliens had never experienced. While alien species had evolved on stable planets, with consistent gravity, humans were learning to fight anywhere in the universe. "Excellent work," Rick said as the training session ended. "You are becoming the first true space warriors in human history." What made the SEALs special was their ability to function under extreme stress. Most alien species had evolved to avoid conflict and danger. They had created peaceful societies where violence was rare. But humans had been fighting and surviving in hostile environments for millions of years. At NASA headquarters in Houston, Dr. Kate Nelson made a breakthrough that would change everything. She had been working on new materials for spacecraft construction. Traditional alien ships were built to be comfortable and safe, but human ships needed to be different. "Director Walsh, you need to see this." She called to her boss. Director Tom Walsh walked over to her laboratory bench. Kate showed him a piece of metal that looked ordinary, but when she hit it with a hammer, it bent without breaking. When she heated it with a torch, it became flexible like rubber. When she froze it with liquid nitrogen, it became harder than diamond. "This material can adapt to any situation," Kate explained. "Our ships will be able to take damage that would destroy alien vessels and keep fighting." Human ships would be built with a completely different philosophy. While alien ships were designed to avoid damage, human ships were designed to survive damage and continue working. Every system had multiple backups. Every section could be sealed off if damaged. The entire ship could keep fighting even if half of it was destroyed. Kate held up another sample. "This one can repair itself if it gets damaged. The metal actually grows back together when it is torn apart." Director Walsh smiled. "How long before we can start building ships with this?" "The first test ship will be ready in 6 months," Kate replied. Back in the Galactic Council chamber, the representatives were finishing their discussion about Earth. They had decided that humans would never be a threat to galactic peace. The biological limitations and short lifespans of humans made them unsuitable for space warfare. "I propose we classify Earth as a protected world," suggested Councillor Ythtar. "We should prevent them from harming themselves with their primitive weapons." "Agreed," said Councillor Zexbith. "Perhaps in a few thousand years, they will evolve enough to join our civilization as junior members." The Council voted unanimously to leave Earth alone. They would check on humanity every few years to make sure they had not developed dangerous technology. But they saw no need for serious monitoring. None of the Council members knew that human ships were already being built in secret. They had no idea that humans had solved problems that alien science considered impossible. They could not imagine that the weak, short-lived creatures from Earth were about to become the most dangerous species in the galaxy. The Council ended their meeting and returned to their peaceful worlds. Meanwhile, humanity continued preparing for the day when they would reveal their true nature to the universe. Commander Zexthol was eating his morning meal when the emergency alarm sounded throughout Harmony Prime Station. Red lights flashed in every corridor as the announcement echoed through the halls. "All senior officers report to the command center immediately. This is not a drill." Zexthol dropped his food and ran toward the command center. His mind raced with possibilities. Nothing dangerous ever happened in this sector of space. The only inhabited planet nearby was Earth, and humans barely had primitive rockets. When he arrived at the command center, Admiral Kethmer was standing in front of a large display screen. The Admiral's normally calm expression showed worry and confusion. "What is the situation?" Zexthol asked. Admiral Kethmer pointed at the screen. 3 days ago, supply convoy Delta 7 disappeared near the Sol system. That is where the planet Earth is located." "Disappeared?" Zexthol was confused. "Do you mean they had mechanical problems?" "No," the Admiral replied grimly. "We found the wreckage this morning. All 5 ships were destroyed by weapons fire. The screen showed pieces of alien spacecraft floating in space. The metal was twisted and burned by extreme heat. Zexthal had seen battle damage before, but this was different. What kind of weapons? Did this? He asked. Science Officer Yexdal stepped forward. She had been studying the wreckage for hours. The energy signatures are unlike anything in our database. The weapons that destroyed these ships are more advanced than our own military technology. That is impossible, Zexthal protested. There are no advanced species in that region of space. Only the primitive humans live there. Admiral Kefmer was quiet for a long moment. Send a full investigation team to the Sol system. I want to know what really happened to our ships. 800 million miles away, Captain Derek Walsh stood on the bridge of the USS Freedom. The ship was enormous, larger than any building on Earth. But from the outside, it looked like a small asteroid floating in space. Excellent work, people, Captain Walsh said to his crew. The alien convoy never knew what hit them. Lieutenant Commander Beth Turner, the ship's chief engineer, looked up from her control panel. All systems are functioning perfectly, Captain. The cloaking device is working at full power. To their sensors, we still look like a piece of space rock. The Freedom was humanity's first true warship designed for deep space combat. It had been built in a secret shipyard, hidden inside a hollowed-out asteroid. The construction had taken 12 years and the work of thousands of people. How did our new weapons perform? Captain Walsh asked. Chief Weapons Officer Lieutenant Mark Davis smiled. Better than expected, sir. The plasma cannons destroyed all 5 alien ships in under 3 minutes. Our targeting systems adapted to their evasive maneuvers in real time. Captain. Walsh nodded with satisfaction. The plasma cannons were based on technology that humans had developed by studying captured alien equipment. But human engineering had made them more powerful and more accurate than the original alien versions. What about intelligence gathering? The captain asked. Dr. Paul Martinez, the ship's science officer, stepped forward. We successfully downloaded their entire computer database before destroying the ships. We now have detailed information about alien technology, military capabilities, and political structure. This was the most important part of the mission. Human weapons were designed not just to destroy enemy ships, but to capture their information first. Every battle would make humanity smarter and more dangerous. Dr. Martinez, what did you learn? About their military strength? Captain Walsh asked. Their weapons are powerful, but slow to adapt, Dr. Martinez replied. Their ships are built for comfort, not combat. Most importantly, they have never fought an enemy that could hide from there. Sensors. Captain Walsh walked to the large window at the front of the bridge. Outside, he could see Earth in the distance, looking peaceful and blue. No one on that planet knew that humanity had just won its first victory in space. Send a message to Earth. Command, he ordered. Tell them Phase 1 is complete. We are ready to begin Phase 2. On Earth, President Jennifer Clark sat in a secret meeting room deep beneath the White House. Around the table were the leaders of every major nation on the planet. For the first time in human history, all countries were working together toward a single goal. Ladies and gentlemen, President Clark began, we have just received confirmation that our first space battle was successful. The USS Freedom has proven that our technology and training are superior to alien capabilities. Prime Minister Andrew Scott of Britain leaned forward. What about their response? Will they investigate the destroyed ships? General Frank Williams, the head of Earth's combined military forces, answered the question. Our intelligence suggests they will send an investigation team. This is exactly what we want. We need them to discover that Earth is not what they think it is. President Rodriguez of Mexico raised her hand. Are we sure we are ready for open conflict Once they know the truth, there is no going back. We have been preparing for this moment for 25 years, President Clark replied. Our colonies on Mars, the Moon, and the asteroid belt are ready to support the war effort. Our shipyards are producing new vessels every month. Most importantly, our people are trained and ready to fight. Dr. Sandra Hayes, who had been chosen as Earth's first ambassador to the Galactic Council, stood up. I have been studying alien psychology and culture for 15 years. They are not prepared for the type of warfare that humans can wage. They think of combat as something to be avoided, not mastered. They have never faced an enemy that enjoys fighting, General Williams added. Human soldiers are trained to think of battle as a challenge to overcome, not a disaster to survive. President Clark looked around the room at the faces of world leaders. The decision is before us. Do we continue to hide and pretend to be weak, or do we reveal ourselves and demand our place in the galaxy? One by one, each leader voted. The decision was unanimous. Humanity would reveal itself to the galaxy. Very well, President Clark said. Send the message to all our hidden bases and ships. Operation Dawn begins in 72 hours. After centuries of hiding in the shadows, humanity will step into the light. Back on Harmony Prime Station, Commander Zexthol was studying the latest reports from the investigation team. What they had found near Earth made no sense. The wreckage showed signs of technology that should not exist in that part of space. Sir, Communications Officer Vextall called out. We are receiving a transmission from the Sol system. It appears to be coming from the planet Earth. From Earth? Zexthol was puzzled. Humans do not have the technology to send messages across interstellar distances. The signal is very strong, sir, and it is being broadcast on all known galactic communication frequencies. Zexthol felt a cold feeling in his stomach. Put the message on the main screen. The face of a human appeared on the display. He was wearing a military uniform and standing in what looked like the command center of an advanced spacecraft. Greetings to the Galactic Council, the human said in perfect galactic standard language. I am Admiral James Cooper of the United Earth Space Force. We believe it is time for a proper introduction. The command center fell silent. Every alien in the room stared at the screen in shock. The primitive humans they had been ignoring for decades were speaking to them as equals. The Galactic Council chamber had never been so quiet. 47 alien species sat in stunned silence as Admiral James Cooper's message played on every screen in the galaxy. The humans' words echoed through space stations, planetary governments, and military headquarters across hundreds of worlds. People of the galaxy, Admiral Cooper continued, humanity formally announces our presence as an advanced spacefaring civilization. We have been watching you as you have been watching us. The time for pretending has ended. Counselor Yithtar's tentacles trembled as he tried to understand what he was hearing. This cannot be real. Humans are primitive. They barely have rocket technology. But even as he spoke, reports were flooding in from across the galaxy. Human ships were appearing everywhere, dropping their disguises and revealing themselves. What observers had thought were asteroids, space debris, and empty regions of space suddenly came alive with human activity. On the bridge of the USS Liberty, Admiral Cooper stood before a massive holographic display showing the entire galaxy. Thousands of green dots appeared on the map, each one representing a human ship or base that had just revealed itself. Communications Officer, open a channel to all human vessels. Admiral Cooper ordered. Lieutenant Sarah Kim activated the communications system. Channel open, Admiral. Attention all human forces, Admiral Cooper announced. This is Admiral Cooper aboard the Liberty. Execute Operation Sunrise. Show them who we really are. Across the galaxy, human ships powered up their engines and dropped. their cloaking devices. The massive fleet that had been hiding in the shadows for decades suddenly became visible to alien sensors everywhere. On Harmony Prime Station, Commander Zexthel watched his screens fill with contact signals. "How many ships are there?" he asked in a shaky voice. "Sir," his sensor operator replied, "I count over 3,000 vessels in this sector alone. They range from small fighters to ships larger than our biggest battle cruisers." The largest ship on the screen was the USS Constitution, humanity's flagship. It was twice the size of the biggest alien vessel and bristled with weapons that alien science could not identify. Where did they all come from? Zexthel whispered. Captain Derek Walsh, still aboard the Freedom, smiled as he watched alien ships scramble to respond to the revelation. "Navigation, set course for the Harmony Prime Station. Let's go introduce ourselves properly." "Course laid in, Captain," his navigator replied. "Helm, take us in, but slowly. We don't want to seem too threatening." Yet, the Freedom moved through space toward the alien station. As it approached, its true size became apparent. The ship was not just large, it was enormous. The station's weapon systems automatically targeted it, but the humans made no hostile moves. "Alien Station Harmony Prime," Captain Walsh broadcast. "This is Captain Derek Walsh of the United Earth Vessel Freedom. Request permission to dock for diplomatic discussions." Commander Zexthel stared at the massive human ship approaching his station. Its weapons were powered down, but he could see that they were far more advanced than anything his people possessed. "Captain Walsh," Zexthel replied carefully, "you may dock at Bay 7, but I warn you, any hostile action will be met with force." Captain Walsh chuckled. "Commander, if we wanted to be hostile, your station would already be space dust. We come in peace, but we come as equals." On Earth, Dr. Sandra Hayes prepared for the most important journey in human history. She had been chosen as humanity's first official ambassador to the Galactic Council. Her ship, the USS Diplomat, was already approaching the Council's home world. "Ambassador Hayes," her pilot called out, "we are receiving landing instructions from the planet's surface." "Thank you, Commander Phillips," Dr. Hayes replied. "Take us down to the designated coordinates." As the Diplomat landed, thousands of alien officials gathered to witness this historic moment. Dr. Hayes emerged from her ship, wearing a specially designed diplomatic uniform. She walked confidently toward the waiting alien dignitaries. Counselor Yithtar approached her cautiously. "Dr. Hayes, I presume?" "I am Counselor Yithtar of the Galactic Council. We need to discuss this situation." "Indeed we do, Counselor," Dr. Hayes replied in perfect galactic standard language. "But first, let me present humanity's terms for joining your galactic community." "Terms?" Yithtar was confused. "Surely you mean your application for junior membership status?" Dr. Hayes smiled. "I'm afraid you misunderstood. Humanity is not applying to join your civilization. We are announcing our arrival as a major galactic power. We seek full membership and equal representation on the Council." The alien counselor's skin changed color with shock. "That is impossible. New species must prove themselves worthy over centuries of observation and gradual development." "Counselor," Dr. Hayes said patiently, "we have been developing for centuries. We simply chose not to show you our progress. Would you like to see what humanity has accomplished?" She activated a small device that projected a holographic display, showing human colonies throughout the galaxy, thriving cities on distant worlds, massive mining operations in asteroid belts, and scientific research stations in the deepest regions of space. These colonies have been operating for over 20 years, Dr. Hayes explained. "We have been living and working throughout your galaxy while you believed we were confined to Earth." Back in the council chamber on Zentara, emergency sessions were being held around the clock. Alien leaders struggled to understand how they had been so completely fooled. How did they hide all of this from us? Demanded Counselor More THAK. Intelligence Chief Kexvar presented his findings to the assembled leaders. Our analysis shows that humans deliberately presented false information about their capabilities. Every rocket launch we observed was designed to look primitive. Every conflict we monitored was staged to make them appear divided. You mean they were acting? Counselor Zexbith clicked her mandibles in disbelief. More than acting, Kexvar replied. They were conducting the most sophisticated deception operation in galactic history. While we watched them pretend to fight with crude weapons, they were building starships and developing technology that surpasses our own. General Frank Williams stood in the Pentagon briefing room, watching reports from around the galaxy. Human forces were taking their positions as the newest major power in galactic politics. Status report, he requested. Colonel Maria Santos, now wearing her new Space Force uniform, provided the update. All human forces are in position, General. Our colonies are secure, our fleets are ready, and our diplomatic team is presenting our demands to the Galactic Council. Any resistance from alien forces? General Williams asked. None yet, sir. They seem too shocked to organize a response. Most alien governments are trying to figure out how we accomplished this deception. On Harmony Prime Station, Commander Zexthil met with Captain Walsh in the station's diplomatic quarters. The human captain sat across from him, relaxed and confident. I must ask, Captain, Zexthil said, how long have you been planning this revelation? Over 50 years, Captain Walsh replied. From the moment we detected your first scout ships observing Earth, we knew we needed to prepare carefully. We learned your languages, studied your technology, and developed countermeasures for your weapons. But why hide? Why not simply contact? Use openly? Captain Walsh leaned forward. Because, Commander, you would have tried to stop us. If you had known humanity's true potential from the beginning, you would have seen us as a threat. You might have decided to eliminate us before we could develop our capabilities. Zexthil realized the human was right. The Galactic Council had destroyed other species they considered dangerous. So what happens now? Zexthil asked. Now we coexist, Captain Walsh said. Humanity takes our place as equals in the galactic community. We share our technology, you share yours. We work together for the good of all species. 3 months later, Commander Zexthil sat at his desk updating Earth's file in the galactic database. The old classification had been completely wrong. He typed the new information carefully. Planet, Earth, species, human, classification, major galactic power, risk, level, maximum, recommended action, full diplomatic engagement and mutual cooperation. He paused and added one final note. Special warning, never underestimate this species. Their greatest strength is their ability to appear weak while secretly becoming strong. Zexthil submitted the updated file and leaned back in his chair. The galaxy would never be the same. Humanity had taught every species an important lesson about making assumptions and underestimating others. In space around Earth, human ships patrolled openly for the first time. Captain Derek Walsh and the crew of the Freedom continued their missions, no longer hiding what they were or what they could do. The shocking truth about Earth was now known throughout the galaxy. The planet that aliens had considered low risk was actually home to the most dangerous and clever species they had ever encountered.